आचार्य जी यहाँ है हमें कृष्णा the real essence of Gita through Krishna और कृष्णा ने क्या कहा एक्चुअली उनका क्या मीनिंग था उसको बिल्कुल एडल्टरेशन किए बिना उसको बिल्कुल डिल्यूट किए बिना हम गीता को कैसे समझ सकते हैं इन अ प्रेजेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट सो ओवर टू आचार्य जी
Om Namaste everybody. Let's bring our mind to focus. Sit down straight, close the eyes gently with the spine vertical as the wall or the pole. Body totally relaxed. Relax the soul, the heels, the legs, the thighs, the hip, the stomach, the back muscles, the thorax, chest, shoulder muscles totally relaxed, with the arms, elbows, until the fingertips totally relaxed. The neck, the facial muscles, and the brain totally free from stress and tension. Deep inhale and exhale. And while doing the inhale and exhale process, just focus on the breath moving in and out of the nostrils. Om, chanting the universal sound, and when chanting Om, just observe the source of the sound from the digestive forces moving upwards to the skull. And when we are going to chant the last part of it, if you pay attention well, you can feel the vibrations at the level of the brain. So be very mindful of your own chanting. Then Gayatri Mantra chanting, praise for the enlightened mind. Om Bhurabhuva Svaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. Join the palms together, gently rub them, cover the eyes and open the eyes slowly below the palms. External light doesn't hit our eyes. And transfer the energy to the facial muscles. Welcome everybody to this third session on yoga in the Gita and related to how we relate that to Patanjali Yoga Sutras of the Patanjali Yoga Darshan. Just remember Maharshi Patanjali has said, na tapasya no yoga. So no one can become a yogi without tapasya. That is, putting your own efforts to realize the goals. Just do me a favor when I'm going to present, just mute your mics, and you can open your mics when we'll be on the Q&A session. So we'll look today on chapter 1 and onwards in the Gita. Yesterday I gave a brief on the various chapters, how contemporary writers have given various titles to the various topics, to the various chapters. And the first adhyay, first chapter is Arjun Vishad Yoga. It shows the dilemma of Arjun and that dilemma, why it happens. The first shlok there, it shows the Gita as a conversation between a conversation. Sanjay is talking to Dhritarashtra. Sanjay, who's been given the farsightedness to report to Dhritarashtra of what was happening on the battlefield, because Dhritarashtra himself refused the farsightedness that was offered to him by Maharishi Vedyas. Because he couldn't bear to see, he knew what would be the outcome of this war, but he couldn't bear to see it himself. Then Sanjay came in as the intermediary, and from there it goes in the Gita. The first shlok says, Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsava mamaka pandava chaiva karma kurvati sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra is asking Dharma Kshetra, and understand why Kurukshetra is called Dharma Kshetra or Dharma Kshetra. That was a land which was used by many sages for their meditation, contemplation by the side of the river, and it was where they could delve into the spiritual sciences, practicing yoga from yam niyam going up to samadhi, and get direct knowledge from Ishvara God in samadhi. And Dharma Kshetra is not only in the first shlok of the Gita, as I said in the very beginning, it's the ongoing battle within our minds and hearts to be able to decide whether we'll stand for truth and shun untruth. Will stand for dharma, righteousness, or will stand otherwise. Will stand for our duties and responsibilities and shun negligence. These are the major decisions at every single point in our lives. So this is the real Kurukshetra, to be able to sift between dharma and adharma in our daily life. And the first chapter is mostly on the shlokas whereby Arjun expresses all the symptoms of trouble given by Maharshi Patanjali in the Yoga Darshan. Vyadhi Sthan Sanshay Avirati up to Alabdha Bhumi Katavat, which I explained yesterday. The inability to gauge the reality, blinded by the veil of the bonds of the siblings and relationship bonds with the other party on the other side. The inability to act, the inability to move ahead because he was in a desperate situation where his level of self-confidence was very low, or even we can say zero. The knowledge of the Gita empowers him to regain his composure. And that transformation makes Arjun an energetic person with a drive to reach the goals. There's hope, there's confidence before moving ahead. Now, let's understand the names of the two main characters. Arjun, from the Sanskrit word, root word is riju, and it means saral, that is someone very humble and with no hard-headed, very simple. And then Arjun is also qualified as Mahabahu, not because of his physical strength to fight in the war, but because of the mental, moral, spiritual strength to maintain his composure. But it happens, even the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it says, if yogis are not careful, even after reaching the highest level of attainment, they may fall down. And the Yoga Darshan gives 81 pitfalls. And if we see the life of Arjun in the first chapter and part of the second chapter, it's the same thing. He falls back and regains his composure and moves ahead. Krishna, the word is from Krish, and Krish in Sanskrit means digging deep. And this is what he does with Arjun. From the questions, then he digs deep into the mind of Arjun, drills in the knowledge, and let Arjun take the decisions. Krishna, as I said, from the word Krish, then he is also known as Rishikesh. We all know the place, and probably we've never given a second thought why this name. It's derived a conjunct word of Rishik and Ish. And this describes the position of Sri Krishna as Yogi Raj. Rishik, Ish, master of the senses. Indriyon ke Swami. Now let's take it from that. Someone who is called Rishikesh, master of the senses. If you've seen the serial of Radhe Krishna on TV, do you think this was the real position of Sri Krishna? Or there has been adulteration trying to, as we say, diminish the real size of that person, of that great personality. He was a yogi since early childhood. That's why he could deal with Kans and the others. And that yogic power was carried from previous birth. Arjun is known as Gudakesh, and this is how in one of the shlokas in the chapter 1, Krishna addresses him. Guda Kesh because it's again conjunct word, Guda and Ish. Nidra Tandra ko jeetne wale. He was the one who could overcome the need for sleep, the need for rest, the need to take a nap, or the need just to stay away from activity. He was so energetic. Krishna is referred to as Govind in Shlok 45. And Govind again refers to someone who has full control over the senses. इंद्रियों को वश में रखने वाले. Now, from what we see in whatever been the serials or movies made on Mahabharata and Sri Krishna, just imagine how much adulteration each and everybody has tried to put there. Delving into the knowledge of the first Adhyay, chapter 1, we see Arjun setting down, putting the bows and arrows down, and through the shlokas, Drishtam evam swajanam Krishna yuyutsam samupasthitam Sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishrushyati. That shlok 28, 29, 30, 31. Aptu nimittani cha pashyami viparitani keshava na cha shreyo nupashyami hatva swajana mahave. He states it clearly, swajano, because he's seeing his own blood relationships and his gurus on the opposite side. And if we try to fix that, that is Parinam and Tap Dukh from Patanjali Yoga. Parinam Dukh because when he saw the other side, he forgot his duties and saw only the relationships. Tap Dukh because that came to him sudden, all of a sudden. And that's where he says his body is suffering from tremors. I use the word tremors because he was really shaking. Mouth running dry. And he couldn't even hold his bow and arrows. Then in the next set of sutras from 32 to shlokas, from 32 to 37, he re-explains. He takes again what he's feeling actually. And he says that even in this battle, at the end of this battle, what will happen is that he's going to rule over a kingdom along with his brothers. Bhogi to karna hai. So why not give the whole of the kingdom to Duryodhan and go as sannyas people does, as sannyasi does, roaming around and live on bhiksha. That is a very strong position which he explains because he wants to save himself from the sin of killing his own kith and kin. And the word is in Hindi is Atatayum Swabandhu Vadarup Pap. So if we go on that basis, there's the real problem of Arjun here is he's not being able to assert himself in Swadharma, his dharma as a Kshatriya, as a ruler, as a soldier, as the commander of this army. He even acknowledges, he says in the shlok, यद्यप्येते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहत चेतसः कूलक्षय कृतं दोषं मित्रद्रोहे च पातकम्. He acknowledges that the opposite side has gone wrong because of greed. लोभ से जिनकी बुद्धि नष्ट हो गई, उन्हें कुल के नाश से होने वाला दोष तथा मित्र दोष करने में होने वाला पाप नहीं दिखाई देता है. He acknowledges, he knows 100% that the other party is wrong. Subdued under greed, they've not even given a single second of contemplation that they run the risk of losing the war and dying in the process. And when dying, they will also, so many thousands of people will die along them. Then that situation is a situation of despair. And the desperate situation, now Krishna has to enter as the guide. And in Hindi it is said as Path Pradarshak. That shows the level of, if we allow ourselves to go mentally down, that is going to play 10 times further down on our physical state. So from the point of view of psychology, which many of you have read, you will see that इसमें मनोविज्ञान भी भरा हुआ है. It's psychology, full of psychology. How to go about getting that. And when he says, Dhritarashtra puts the question, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, this is the real Devasur Sangram in our daily life. Devasur Sangram is Dev and Asur. Dev, the positive things, and Asur, the negative things. Just simply take that meaning. And Duryodhan subdued to greed, and here Arjun is overridden by more, that inordinate attachment. And the Yog Darshan refers to the Panch Klesh, the five things that make us go wrong. Avidya, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh, Abhinivesh. And more will come into Rag. Avidya, ignorance, the absence of true knowledge or the presence of fake knowledge or what is not true. Asmita is the identity crisis, where we confound ourselves. Instead of thinking of ourselves as the soul driving this body, we think this body is the final. And there is the identity crisis also here. Rag, the inordinate attachment. And we see Dvesh from the other party because they don't want to smell the Pandavas. And Abhinivesh, thinking that I'm never going to die. And this is the stand of the Kauravas. So that's a brief on chapter 1. And one example there, if we want to learn what is more. There's a story, a judge was heading the Supreme Court, and to him came various appeals from various criminals who were sentenced to death. And while analyzing the appeals, he didn't care about who these people were, just analyzing on the basis of the wrongdoings, signed the final sentence, and they were put to death. But then one day, one such case came to him in appeal, and that was a close relative of him who committed a serious crime and was sentenced to death by the lower courts. And when that appeal came to him, there he could see only his relationship with that person, with that criminal. Then he started standing against the death sentence, the death penalty. And if we look at the whole picture of this world today, for so-called humanist or human rights people, I'm not saying the whole of them, but probably we can say a good chunk of these people is because somewhere something has hit them. And this is one way to let the steam off. Till that happened to others, they didn't care an iota for that. So this is the situation, and that can be easily translated in day-to-day life. We just have to observe all around us. Like people refusing to acknowledge that we are polluting the world, we run the risk of being crippled under the pollution that we've been doing. In the name of industries, profitability and everything, consumerism, just making money, we are harming the whole environment and will be harming ourselves. So it's a question of common good and personal good. The Kauravas in that Dharma Kshetra, Kurukshetra, stood on the side of wrong. The Pandavas were on the side of right. But here Arjun goes into what goes into the head of a normal human being. Then the second chapter is about Sankhya Yoga. It's titled Sankhya Yoga by contemporary writers. Now, I gave a brief on the first day on Sankhya from Sankhya Darshan, splitting all the elements and understanding all the elements in this universe. From Purush, that is the soul, one Purush, and Pratham Purush or Mahapurush, Ishwar God, and Prakriti, the third eternal entity, Sattva Rajtam, up to the creation and how this goes about. And how these come about to this body also is created. This physical body is made of primordial matter, Sattva Rajatama. So this is how it's called Sankhya Yoga, because it's as from Shlok 11, when Arjun stops the questions and Krishna starts putting the answers. The first is the distinction between Atma, the soul, and Sharir, the physical body. The soul as the eternal consciousness. And there are multitudes of that. We don't know the numbers, God knows. And matter, which science, modern science says matter cannot be created nor destroyed. It is converted from Panch Mahabhut, earth, fire, water, space, and air. And when we die, the body returns to that. What is carried forward is the soul with a subtle body. But then this subtle body also is made of Prakriti. And when we go into Mukti Moksha, that subtle body is detached from the soul. It's only the soul which remains there in the bliss of God. And then it makes also the distinction that the war is going to end only this life. Mrityu punarjanma hai. So it's time now to put an end to the physical body which is perpetuating wrong. The first shloka in the second chapter. Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtamasvargya kirti karam Arjuna. What we've learned in the reading of philosophy, that Hinduism came from elsewhere, from the Mohenjo-Daro civilization. Till recently, it was plugged to 5,000 years, and now it's gone to 7,500 years and nearly 10,000 years. It's still growing. And Krishna is putting it, why are you behaving like an Arya, the un-Aryan way? Arya here refers not to a race, but to the qualities of people. जिनके गुण कर्म स्वभाव श्रेष्ठ है, those who have the highest or noble gun characteristics, karma actions, swabhav innate aptitudes. So if that shlok talks about Arya, at that point in time, the end of the Dwapara Yuga. So that Ayurvedic Hindu thing was not something that was brought from outside. It had been there. Then in the second shloka, Katham Bhishmaham Sankhye Dronam Cha Madhusudanam, starts making the difference. Arjun himself, he says, how can I strike at Bhishma Pitamaha, at Dronacharya, in whose lap I was playing? I learned so many things. Even I learned the technique of warfare. And he addresses Gurun Hatva. How can I kill the elderly? He's forgotten his, as we say, Varna Dharma. Varna is division of labor as per modern economics. Teachers, tutors, etc. are the Brahmanas. The people responsible for law and orders are the Kshatriya. Businessmen and agricultural people are Vaishya, and manual workers are the Shudras. It's not what has been taught to us or introduced in India by the Portuguese. Then he says, Arjun continues, in the sixth shloka, he uses a very strong positive word, Jiji Vishamaste Vasthita. Jiji Visha, सब में तो जीने की इच्छा है. Everybody wants to live. Even the dying person wants to extend his lifetime, which we see in the day-to-day world. Then another word comes in, Karpaniya dosha. This is daya ke dosh, compassion. If it's negative, if it's positive, you're compassionate towards people who are really suffering. That is okay. But here, it gives a strong feeling. If you have compassion for people who are doing wrong, just because it's more interpreted as compassion, the inordinate attachment, which is confounded also with compassion. He's trying to be compassionate. I can't kill those people because they are related to me. So that is also a wrongdoing. So जैसे कहता ना, पाप करना अत्याचार है, पाप सहना महा नहीं, अत्याचार करना पाप है और अत्याचार सहना महापाप है. This is what goes into this shloka. And all the signs of Arjun there, which is describing till the 10th shloka of the second chapter. If we look into modern analysis, the signs of depression, and as I related it to Parinam and Tap Dukkha. Now starts the Gita with this 11th shlok of the second chapter. And if we just try to filter the second chapter, 11th to 30th shlok is about Sankhya enlightening Arjun on the characteristics of the soul which is different from the body. 31st to 38th shloka is about Swadharma. And 39 onwards is about karma, duties, responsibilities. Sankhya, because he's proving Atma ka stitva, the reality of the soul is different from the reality of the body. And that is in Shlok 14. And we see he's repeating that thing, reaffirming the characteristics of the soul. Why repetition? Punaravitti just to drill in the knowledge. Just remember I said Krishna, Krish, drilling deep. This is what he's doing. Probably, if we count the shlok, I didn't count it, there are more than, I think, 7 or 8 instances of repetition. And this repetition comes only to drill the knowledge deep into Arjuna. And look at the way that Arjuna puts the question. The real word in Hindi is jijyasu, as a seeker for enlightenment. And do we see this attitude among the students of today? This is a question. So if the Gita is taught to kids in a simple way, will develop the baby steps in them to be seekers whenever they put questions. Then Shloka 15 starts now getting into the depth of yoga. Yanhina vyatha yantyeta purusham purusharbha sama dukkha sukham shriram so amritaya kalpati. Now the next shlok is na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate satah ubhayorapi drishtavanta svanna योस्तत्वदर्शिभिः. सुख दुख में समान मानने वाले ज्ञानी पुरुष होता है. So it now guides us to equanimity, to be level-headed in pains and sorrows as well as in moments of happiness. Then he's talking about Sat and Asat. We all know Satya as the truth, but do we know really truth? इसकी सत्ता होती है, it exists. और असत जिसकी सत्ता नहीं होती है, which doesn't have a ground to stand. So simple way of introducing the knowledge to Arjun. And it says, the one who is level-headed in pains and sorrows and at the times of happiness. This is the one who will grow to Amritatvaya, and this is going to Mukti. Then Shlok 23, very famous. Nainam chindanti shastrani nainam dahati pavaka na chainam kledayantyapo na shoshayati maruta. Very famous shlok. But we tend to chant this shlok. Do we realize the depth, the knowledge depth that is there? It talks about the soul which is unmoved by these things. It can't be dried by the sun, by the air. It can't be drowned. It can't be dried by the air. It can't be drowned by water. It can't be cut by the sword, everything. Now just imagine, whatever we eat and drink, does that go to the soul? So let's join the dots. And when joining the dots, this is where we'll realize. And he says, the soul is avyakt. That is, it's not something that is created. So that is, one he says, when he's talking about God as the eternal, then when it talks about the soul as avyakt, it is uncreated. Then avikari, that which doesn't change. So whenever, if we have this concept that nothing goes into the soul, whatever we eat for the reason of taste, whatever we smell, whatever be the odors that we smell because we like them, or whatever we like to see, whatever we like to hear, whatever we like to touch, nothing goes down to the soul. And if we understand that concept, then we'll understand the concept of how to control the senses, how to exercise self-control, which comes into brahmacharya within yama niyama. And once we do that, we'll be able to fine-tune ourselves on Soch, purity of body, mind, and spirit. So see the interconnectedness of this. Going further down the line, he's showing the reality between the soul and the body. And Shlok 30 says, Dehi nitya vadhyo yam dehi sarvasya bharata. Know the soul as the controller of this body. Wherever we want to lead this body is the soul as the master, the final decider. And we know that famous dialogue, Dil hai ki mannata nahi. Just put the questions to ourselves. Is that the fact? If we have the real knowledge, the soul is the real master to give the direction, and the mind, when it's directed by the soul, can't do otherwise except going according to the soul. Remember the pictures I showed you, the chariot? Atmanam Rathinam Vriddhi. Arjun is the owner of that chariot, Krishna is the driver. So Arjun gives the order to Krishna and Krishna goes accordingly. And Krishna doesn't do otherwise. So Krishna has the intellect there. So these are fine concepts which we need to grasp. And once we grasp this, then we can say Man Mandir will exercise 100% control on our mind with the thoughts, on our hearts with the emotions, and whenever we'll act with a combination of both the heart and the mind, not solely with the mind, not solely with the heart. If we act solely with the mind, we can be very inhuman, and if we act solely with the heart, we'll be emotional and lose the sense of logic. So, as it came into the introduction from Dr. Arjunji and from myself, Gita was not something that was applicable only 5,000 years ago. It's applicable in day-to-day life now and will be evergreen knowledge till eternity. Then there comes the concept of swadharma and understanding duties and responsibilities. We need to know that there are some general rules to which we need to abide, like the rules of society. When we move out of our home, we need to respect those rules. But within our home, we have certain rules, like respecting the elderly. And if that goes from down the line, so the youngest respecting the elder, and it goes like this, it grows up the ladder. And after that, I have my own duties and responsibilities to which I need to abide. I'm a member of the family. I have to behave as a family. That's the general dharma. Then swadharma, as a father, as a mother, as a brother, as a sister, or as a cousin, as a friend to others. This is specific to me, to my situation. This is swadharma. And this is where, again, Krishna is drilling into Arjuna. What are the duties of you as someone going to fight to regain control of the kingdom which was due to you? What are your duties to you as the commander-in-chief of the army? So this is the concept of swadharma. Then we go into the shlok which defines yoga. It's shlok 44, buddhi samadho na vidhiyate. It's the mind, the balanced state of mind, whether he's going to be victorious or he's going to lose the war, the vanquished, whether he's happy or unhappy, keep the level-headedness. And this is through control of the mental activities. And this is what Maharishi Patanjali defines yoga chitta vritti nirodha. There's no departure or no otherwise meaning given to that. See the consistency of the knowledge, and we'll come to that a bit later. When he talks about Krishna talking about the knowledge which has been transmitted, and the knowledge of the Gita which he's giving is no new knowledge. Started with Vivaswan, given to Manu, and from Manu to Ikshvaku, going down. So as we say, it was the Rishi Parampara, the transmission of knowledge from one generation to others. And since we didn't have pen and paper at those times, people think these didn't exist. It was only a creation of the imagination of only recent times. So buddhi samadho na vidhiyate. Understand that basic concept. If you understand that, I think, and as we saw in that video at the end, if you remember the 3 questions, I try to put this video in my presentations because the free questions are there. Do you have the courage to change? Do you want to remain at the top? And are you prepared to change with time? And those questions of change, we can manage that easily if we are in that concept of buddhi samadhana vidhiyati. We have the balanced state of mind, we have control over our mental activities. We just won't go into the flow. We'll put the questions, find the logic, and if we have to stay away from the flow, we'll stay away. If we have to go with the flow, we'll take our own stand and create our own identity within that flow. And the last part of it, it says, vichar or acharan. Translate these into from the thoughts, level of thoughts, up to actions, physical actions, acharan melana. And the Gita is for that. And that video is the intro of the serial Mahabharata, which was played, I think, some 20, 30 years back. Then Shloka 66. No, Shloka 47. 47 also is a very, let's take 45 first. 45 says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nestraigunya Bhavadurna. So it starts talking about the body being made from the Trigun, Sattva, Rajatama. And this is going to impact on us. The more our food is sattvic, the more our thoughts will be sattvic, the more our physical state, mental and physical state will be sattvic. And the more our food is rajasic, the more we'll ride on mentally, physically, morally on rajasic. And the more our food is tamasic, the more we'll be riding mentally, morally, physically on tamasic gunas. So, what example is given in Shlok 46? Yavanartha upada udapane sarvatah samlutodake tavat sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanatah. That is a very colloquial way of saying things. When there's flood, who cares about the well? Flood is all around. You have to probably say 1 meter high of water on the ground everywhere. Who will go and look for the well where the well was? And what is the importance of the well there? So if we want to apply this in our daily life, दैनिक जीवन से जोड़ना चाहते हैं ना, those who are driven by ego, ahankar, just put the question, the importance I give to myself is as good as the well in times of flood. And there's one Western scholar which has well described that if you want to know the importance of yourself, just especially when we are overridden by ego, ahankar, just put our hand in a bucket of water and remove the hand. The hole that is left is our importance. So that teaches us never to let ego override us. Then Shlok 47. That is also very famous shlok, but we tend to chant that without thinking of the meaning. Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahe turbhoma te sango swakarmani. How many of us are used to chanting that. And I know many people who used to chant famous shloka of the Gita every morning. But put the question to them, do you know what that means and how do you live that knowledge in day-to-day life? It says we have our duties and responsibilities to assert ourselves in our karma, but we have no right on whatever would be the outcome. The outcome will come in due time at maturity. So that is karma phal siddhant, the law of karma. We have what is in our control, the performance of our karma. Be responsible, be dutiful, and act accordingly to what we have to do. Otherwise, we'll have to bear the negative consequences. And if you want to understand why we let time do its own job, let's look at common day-to-day life. People who work on hourly basis works for 1 hour and gets paid for the hour that he works at your place and goes to work somewhere else and get paid instantly. Some people work on daily basis. They come to you for 1 day and they get paid at the end of the day. They go to another place to work the second day and they get paid there. So in times of maturity, the yield will come. Some are paid on weekly basis, some are paid on fortnightly basis, some are paid on monthly basis. Others just get a basic remuneration and get a big package at the end of 1 year. That's the productivity bonus type people. So it's the same with karma. Let's do our karma, let's the fruit comes in due time. This is what this shlok is telling us. And really, do we assert ourselves? Then another shlok 48, which says, Siddhi asiddhiyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Sambuddhi ka naam yoga hai, the balanced state of mind. And this is where we'll go into the achievements, siddhi, and if we are not careful, we'll go on the failures of siddhi. 50 says buddhi yukto. See the word yukt. And this describes the benefit of yoga because this shloka ends with karmasu kaushalam. Gives you the ability to reach perfection. And the word kaushal is also, it's more kushal there in the yoga darshan. The accomplished yogi is known as kushal in Patanjali yoga. And it's the same word coming here. After that, we're going to the place where one of the ways to grow on the path of yoga, Indriya Jai, becoming masters of the senses. And that is in Shlok 53 and 54. The reference to that is, the more you feed ghee to the fire, the more it will flare up. So the more we indulge in the senses, the more the cravings will grow. So let's be moderate in life. And moderation will lead us to contentment, santosha. And there's one shlok which talks about Janma Bandhan Vinir Mukta. Janma Bandhan Vinir Mukta. So जन्म के बंधन से छूट करके हम मुक्ति तक पहुंचेंगे. Janma is bandhan because we are bound with this sharir, this body. And mukti is being free as the bird in the sky. Where? In the bliss of God. Going further down the line in this chapter, where it starts talking about karma, remember when it talks about karma, the emphasis is about kartavya, duties, no negligence. And he tells Arjun, there's no single dot of negligence that should be present in you when you're going to engage in that battle. This, it starts with Sankhya Yoga and finishes with Karma Yoga, because then it overrides, starts with the next chapter. And if we follow the flow, we'll find that each and every chapter goes like this. Where it starts probably with a part of the previous one and ends, and that end will be taken again at the beginning of the next chapter. कर्तव्य पूर्ण पालन करें. Put the question now. This is where, whenever we talk about productivity in day-to-day life, we always tend to point fingers at others. That this is a lazy fellow, he only waits for his salary at the end of the month, things like that. But have we ever dared to look at the mirror? आईने में अपने आप को देखने के लिए, झांकने के लिए हमने कोशिश किया. That is self-introspection, a very essential component of yoga to reach that balanced state of mind. Because as I said in the very first day, duplicity in life leads nowhere, because sooner or later we'll be discovered, and when caught with that, then we are left nowhere. जैसे कहते हैं ना, न घर के न घाट के. So you have to be careful. I think let's give a pause by doing a short meditation. I'll leave it to Anjum ji to do that. 4-5 minutes, please.
जी, म्यूजिक लगाना है आचार्य जी?
नहीं, just do it by guiding.
Okay. सभी सहज हो जाएं. Close your eyes, relax your mind. We'll focus on our breathing. Focusing on breathing is the best way to meditate and to relax. The more oxygen you will supply to your body, the more it will relax. So just inhale deeply. Inhale. Exhale. आप लोग ज्ञान मुद्रा भी रख सकते हैं और हकीनी मुद्रा भी. Hakini Mudra is known for the wisdom. If I show you Hakini Mudra, you have to press all your fingers together and just have a distance in the last finger, the little finger, and this is the way it will look like. And you can keep it towards your heart or you can keep it towards your lap. So you can press the fingers and now focus on your breathe as well as pressurizing your fingers. Inhale. Hold the breath. Now exhale. Exhale. Your exhaling timing should be more than the inhalation. So we will spend more time on exhalation so that you can exhale all the negativity, carbon dioxide, and all the emotions which are hurting you. Inhale. Hold. Start exhaling. Exhale. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, 2, 1. 2, your lungs till the end. Inhale. Hold on. Let the oxygen flow with the blood. Start exhaling and push your belly button till the end. Try to touch your back. Exhale. Take a deep breath. Inhale. Hold on. Exhale. Breathe out. Now, without my command, just inhale and exhale as per your rhythm. Inhale. Hold. And keep on exhaling. Exhale. Keep exhaling. Throw out all the negativity. Exhale. And more. And more. Relax. Inhale. Fill your lungs more and more. Take your time. Inhale. Hold on. Exhale. Throw out all the negativity. Throw out all the carbon dioxide. Throw. Push your belly button. Keep pushing, and relax. Last time. Inhale. Go deep. Hold on. Start exhaling. Throw out all the negativity. Push your belly button till back and relax. Let's have 3 normal breathing with Om. आप सभी अपने ओम का उच्चारण करेंगे. Inhale and go for a longer Om. जहां मां की ध्वनि आप और लंबी करें. Feel the vibration. And the last time. Take a deep breath. Slowly rub your palms. Generate the energy. And put it on your eyes. Hold on. Feel the heat. And then bless yourself. Over to Acharya ji.
Okay, welcome back. So the third chapter now is entitled Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga basically describes what is Nishkam Karma, the concept of selfless actions. It starts with Arjun putting the questions, in spite of being told the difference between the soul and the body and everything. He still has the doubt. And the first shlok says, Tatki karmani ghore mam niyojanayasi keshava. Why are you pushing me to engage in war? He puts the question to Sri Krishna. And what's worse, in the second shlok, it says, Vyamashrineva vakyena buddhim mohaya siva me tadekam vada nishchitya yena shreyo hama pruyam. मेरे बुद्धि को भ्रमित सा कर रहे हो. He's got the knowledge, but is more confused. He wants further enlightenment. But in all humility as a seeker, not challenging Sri Krishna. He says, in spite of all that you told me, I still can't understand why are you pushing me to fight, and why the knowledge is still unclear to me. Krishna takes over now. Loke asmin dividha nishtha pure prota maya nada jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yoge yoginam. You remember the first day I said those who split dhyan, karma and bhakti as free line. This one shows us the path. Dhyana yogena, we need dhyan. Sankhyanam, we need the real true knowledge. Karma yogena, before engaging in karma. And then yoginam, to become the yogi with the bhakti. So probably now you can look for your own questions and answers on that path. Then says, na karmana manarambha naina shkarmya purusho shnute na cha sannanya sanadeva siddhim samadhi gacchati. If you don't start karma, you don't start acting, this is called in Hindi nishkriyata. The one who is just shying away from duties and responsibilities. And unfortunately, this is treated as sannyas yoga. But even look at the sannyas, the position of the sannyasi. He has to do something. He needs to sleep, he needs to wake up, he needs to take care of his physical body, shout adi karna, snan adi karna. He has to eat food, he has to ask for bhiksha. And before asking for bhiksha, he has to share his knowledge. Remember, the sannyasis that we see normally on the roads in India, they are just asking for bhiksha. This is not the real concept of sannyas. And this is also spelled out in, I think, 2 shlokas down the line, with the sannyasi has a duty to share his knowledge. And the bhiksha is earned, that is the karma. He earns his bhiksha by sharing knowledge to others. So sannyas karma or sannyas yoga is not shying away from responsibility duties. It means you are not attached to. You're sharing the knowledge, whether you get 1 roti in bhiksha, whether you get 10 rotis in bhiksha, you are not mindful of that. You lose your level-headedness with whatever you get. And if somebody is really satisfied, probably he will put, as we say, 1 gold coin in the bhiksha patra. And somebody who is really grumpy, he will probably not put anything. So the sannyas karma or sannyas yoga is about not being affected by that. So it says we all have a duty to act, and we know it. It's also in the shlok. Manushya nishkriya hokar ke ji nahi sakta hai. We can never live without doing anything. So that only position that we don't do any karma is when the soul has left this body. This is where we are totally nishkriya. Then karma is also bandhan. Till we are attached to the outcome. So nishkam karma tells us apply the knowledge, and apply the knowledge that nothing goes to the soul. What goes with the soul is only the imprints. इसको कहते हैं संस्कार, अच्छे और बुरे कर्मों के संस्कार, and that goes only to determine the next birth, or whether we are entitled to break the cycle of birth and death to go into mukti moksha. So कर्म का बिल्कुल त्याग करना कभी संभव नहीं है. And just understand the concept of sannyas yoga, because I won't touch again on it. It's the importance of knowledge. Karmendriyani sanyamya na ya aste manasa smaran. Krishna is telling, विवेकहीन जो मूर्ख व्यक्ति हाथ पैर आदि इंद्रियों को अपने विषयों में न रोककर मन से उन विषयों का चिंतन करते हैं, वो मिथ्याचारी है. So the one who is doing nothing and just sitting down and saying, I'm trying to control my senses, I'm trying to master my own self, ये सच्चा व्यक्ति नहीं है, मिथ्याचारी है. He is a fake person. कर्मेंद्रिय द्वारा अनासक्त बुद्धि से कर्म योग का आचरण करते हैं. So you need the knowledge to start doing actions in the detached way. And the word in the 9th shlok is very strong. Yadyartha karmano nyatra loko yam karma bandhana. Do your duty as a yajna. We know the physical yajna, we light the fire in the havan kund, etc. जो भी उसमें समर्पण करते हैं ना, वो विस्तार होकर के दुनिया में फैलता है. Whatever offerings we give into the fire of the havan kund, if the havan kund is well lit, the fire has two subsequent actions. One, the first, for the fire to burn, there's combustion. Then there's evaporation and sublimation. The essential oils of the herbs of the samagri and the ghee goes as vapors into the atmosphere. तो जो भी हम कर्म करते हैं वैसे ही फैलेगा पूरे हमारे चारों ओर. That will spread all around. So if we spread positivity, what will come back to us is positivity. If we spread negativity, that will come back to us again multifold. So be careful. Yad ke saman karma kare. Let's be totally detached, because once we give the offering, the ahuti to the yajna, we are not getting back anything directly in the same form. It's transformed and we no longer can keep it to ourselves. So understand the path of yoga is always like this. And once we grow on the path, we are transformed. देखो समेधा डालते हैं ना हवन कुंड में, the pieces of wood sticks or dried cow dung, whichever we use. Do we get it back in the same form, or is it transformed to ash? Transformed to ash. So it shows to us, for whatever good we've done in our life, let's go the transformation, never to go back to zero, to square one. So this is the teaching. And this is where we learn the concept of Nishkam, selfless action. If we look at the physical occurrences in the universe, one is the way we do yajna. Now let's look at the physical body when we grow. We are born a baby of this length, this height, probably 30 centimeters. Then we grow up to 150, 180 centimeters. Is that reversible? No. Once we've gone through childhood, we can't go back to it. Once we've grown to through youth, we can't go back to it. Once we've completed adult life, that is where everything is stable in our life, we can't go back to it. And when we go into old age, now we are going towards the exit. For a normal person, not for somebody who's died young or baby, things like that. So learn from the environment also. Then there's a concept also in selfless actions. Shloka 11 says, Devan bhava vayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavantyah shreya paramavasthaya. It gives the concept of Ishwar Pranidhan in yoga. Remember, Ishwar God, the Almighty, is omnipresent, sarvavyapak. And He's always looking upon us. So if we surrender to the laws of nature, to the laws of the creation, to the knowledge, to the teachings of given to us, the Vedas, Upanishad, Gita, etc., that's fine. The single step we take to digress from that point, everything goes into, as we say, likha jokha bahi khata. We can't escape that. And remember, positive actions don't nullify negative actions. All the positive actions are in one account, all the negative actions on the other account. जो अच्छा किया है उसका मिलेगा, जो बुरा किया उसका भी मिलेगा. The concept, we find people exploiting others and they give big donations to temples or they do big social works in the concept that whatever I'm doing wrong there, this will mitigate the actions. No. Whatever you've done wrong there, you're going to pay for that, and whatever you're doing good here, you're going to earn for that. This is the law of karma. And once we understand the law of karma, we understand the concept of Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to the Almighty, who is ever looking upon us, who is aware of whatever we are doing. We can't escape that vision. Then there's also a strong warning in the 12th shlok, which starts with Ishtan Bhogan Hi Vo Deva Dasyante Yajya Bhavita Terdatan Pradayo Bhyo Yo Bhungte Stena Eva Sa. So the word is Stena. Be careful. Overexploitation of resources is theft. Stena. And whatever the Kauravas were doing, it was that. And remember, we are used to chant our prayers while eating. And the Vedic prayers, there is one which says, Annapate annasya no nivasya sushmina, praying God that He blesses all those who've been in the chain to bring that food to our table. Then there's another mantra which says, Bhogamannam vindate apracheta, Naryamanam pushyati no sakhayam, केवलाघो के भवति केवलादि. अकेला जो खाता है वो पाप खाता है. That is also part of the concept of Nishkam Karma. For whatever we earn, let's take a share of that and give it to the needy. It may not be every day, but it can be done once a week, once a month. And there's a good concept which I've seen in Gujarat, even in the city center of Ahmedabad. People cooking their food, the first roti is taken out before anybody consumes that food is given to Gai ko dena hai. So they go on the street, whatever be the, even the stray cows, they'll give it to that. And they'll feed with their hands. So that is one concept of sharing. And then that's also one concept of repaying the debts that we've had. Getting born on getting birth on this earth, enjoying this bounteous nature, we have a debt towards Ishwar God to be righteous in life. Parents gave us birth, we have a debt to them. We need to care for them when they are elderly. So this is where these two shlok 12 and 13 is guiding us. Otherwise, will be, as we say in Hindi, ye sachmuch chori karne wala vyakti hai. Because we've not assumed our duties and responsibilities to benefactors around us. We've got a wrong concept of devata. The real concept of devata to hame de raha hai. Nature is giving to us. What are we giving back to us? Parents are giving to us. What are we giving back to them? Teachers are giving us knowledge. What are we giving back to them? Not physically, but at least give them the due respect. Be respectful to them. And in times of need, they ask for help, we can just help them. So it's a two-way traffic. And that applies to day-to-day life. There's one concept in the Hindu Dharma, Balivaisha Devyats. When you've cooked food, take a share of that, give to birds, ants, and other animals around. And there's the concept of Pitriyats, care for the elderly around us. There's the concept of Atithi Yaj, not for those whom we've invited to parties, but to knowledgeable persons who've knocked our doors and want to share their knowledge, receive them duly, learn from them, and then give them something in return. And this is the role of the sannyasi. In fact, the sannyasi comes uninvited to our doors. Then Shloka 14 of the 3rd chapter, Karma Yoga says, Annadhavanti bhutani parjanyadanna sambhava yajyad bhavati parjanyo yajya karma samuddhava. It says, let's learn from the environment. It rains. The rain enables food to grow. We have the food, and whatever is left, the stems and other things, these are left to become biodegradable manure, and these will allow other food to grow. Whatever be in the water that has gone, it will go to the flow down to the sea, and evaporation process there again will bring it to the clouds, and this is the cycle of nature. Be aware of that, but then be aware of another thing. गंगा में जब पाप धोते हैं ना, so many people go to Ganga and says, गंगा स्नान में हम हमारे पास सब पाप धो दिए, तो गंगा कहता मैं अपने पास नहीं रखता हूँ, उसको नदी तक वो समुद्र तक पहुंचा देता हूँ. समुद्र कहता है मैं अपने पास नहीं रखता हूँ, बादल में भेज देता हूँ, बादल कहता है मैं तेरे ऊपर बरसा देता हूँ. So if we understand that concept also will be learn from nature, understand the concept of life. Whatever be the wrong side of knowledge we've been taking, learn from nature and adjust our understanding. And once we adjust our understanding, then we'll understand the concept of Nishkam Karma. So nature has so much to teach us. And rainfall is given as the example there, Parjanya. Then Shloka 17, 18, 19. It says briefly, मनुष्य केवल आत्मा में ही रत है, आत्मा में ही तृप्त है, आत्मा में ही संतुष्ट हो जाता है, उसे स्वयं का ऐसा कोई कार्य शेष नहीं रह जाता है. So it goes to the Kaivalya path of the Yoga Darshan. Once you've reached that top part of it, you need to do nothing more to elevate the soul because you've reached the highest point. But then be careful. When you've reached the highest point, you have a duty to show the way to others to reach the peak of it. Because otherwise it will be the selfish attitude contending that I've reached that point, now I'm going to mukti, I don't care a hell about others. No, I have a duty to take the hand of others to show them the path. So that's equivalent to the teachings of Kaivalya Pad in the Yoga Darshan. आसक्ति रहित अपने कर्तव्य पूरा करने वाले परम गति मिलती है. So remember, when people die, the priest who comes for the antyeshti, the funeral rites, he always says, उस आत्मा को सद्गति मिले, यानी अच्छे गति मिले, gets the proper path. And then the Gita is talking about param gati, and param gati is about mukti moksha, and that is through nishkam seva, nishkam karma. And if you don't have knowledge, now put the question, how can you do nishkam karma? Whatever you'll do, you think you are doing for nishkam karma. And just see those people who are engaged in social work. Often you find them talking into nishkam karma kar raha hu. But really, if you don't take their names with all their titles, if you don't put the mala in their neck at the beginning, और अंत में उसके बाद ताली नहीं बजाएं, तो ये व्यक्ति दुखी होता है. तो is that nishkam seva. And for whatever he's done, there's no carry forward, because what was his expectations of the karma? He's got it on the spot. Whatever been he's doing social work for good, but he's doing it for expecting something in return. And when he's got that karma is complete. There's no carry forward of that. Nishkam karma comes with the concept that everything has a carry forward. इसलिए संतोष जो है, the concept of संतोष in योग, और यहाँ पर भी आया है. It says be content with whatever you've got as outcome, because the remaining of it is going to be carried forward, and that goes into the account of nishkam, selfless actions. So if somebody does a work for you, say I'm doing a work for somebody and I have to earn 1,000 rupees, he's got some problem, he pays me 500 rupees and says sometime else when I have the money I'll pay you. अगर दुखी हो गया तो मेरा काम समाप्त. And if I say, okay, whenever you feel like you give it to me, that goes into my balance of nishkam karma. So that's an understanding. And then he says in Shlok 20 and 21, Karmaneva sansiddhi mapasthita jana kadaya. And the second one, yadyadacharati shreshthasta devetaro jana. The yogi should walk the talk as a role model. No concession. And if everybody does that, walk the talk as a role model, practice what we preach, we are already on the path to become a yogi. So it's not difficult, really. It's just that we have to know the building blocks one by one, identify them, and then join the dots, put the puzzle, and we'll be clear out of it. And says, Shresht, the last shlok which I was reading says, Shresht अर्थात आत्मज्ञानी योगी जिस प्रकार का आचरण करते हैं साधारण व्यक्ति भी उसी प्रकार का आचरण करते हैं. And if we have corruption in the society from top to bottom, if that it has flown from top, filtered down to the bottom. And worse, when it has filtered down to the bottom has multiplied it 1,000 times. And when it has multiplied 1,000 times, when it goes again up, there is that cycle. And each cycle that it does, it will go on magnifying. But we need not despair. When we say, kahin na kahin shuru karna hai, it should start from me. The concept of selfless actions, that's why it says, lead by example. So it starts from me. The first step should be from me. I shouldn't expect others. Kitne log mere saath judte hain that I shouldn't care. Because otherwise, I'm going into lokeshna, name and fame. And if I am craving for name and fame, sama buddhi samadhao is lost. The state of balanced mind. So walk the talk, lead by example. It's no new knowledge. We tend to think this is 10 years down the line from management or 20 years down the line from management. No, it's from the Gita. Then the other sutra, 26. Na buddhi bhedam janayeda jnanam karma singanam. Then this is showing that whatever we need to do, it should be with total dedication. If we leave the outcome to mature and come to us in due time, and we continue to be dedicated to our duties and responsibilities, then that is Satkara Sevito Drir Bhumi. Remember when I said that sutra from Yog Darshan, Sato Derkale Nairantar, I was giving the example of Usain Bolt running in the Olympics. This is what we'll reach. Doing it with lots of love and passion and dedication. The end result will be the gold medal, but then we have to run the final race. So this is what the Gita is teaching us. But the Gita also issues a strong warning in the same shloka. Joshaye sarvat karmani vidvant yukta samacharan jnani purush कर्म फल अज्ञानी व्यक्तियों से भेद बुद्धि उत्पन्न करें. When we are talking about karma phal siddhant, we should be clear. Clear because we shouldn't confuse others. Like people say, no, whatever you do right and whatever has been done wrong will negate. That is wrong concept. This is confusing. Like we say, paap dhul jayega, we are going to whitewash all our sins. This is the wrong concept. We are confusing people. And this is why we go on increasing, because व्यक्ति को क्या सोचता है? मुझे, I've got a paper like this, fill, and then it becomes like this. So I can start writing again. So if you see corruption, trespassing of rights, everything increasing in this world because I've got my paper filled, कहीं पे दान दे दिया, कहीं पे तीर्थ कर लिया, I've got the paper clean, I can start again from zero. So this is the warning that comes from the Gita. And this is yoga. To become a yogi, we need to understand these. Then it goes on understanding of Prakriti. Because eventually we'll come to that chapter which deals with Prakriti. It says, Tattvavit Mahabaho Guna Karma Vibhagayo Guna Guneshu Vartanta Iti Sattvana Sajjati. So Tattvavit, Tattva Jnani. And Tattva Jnani will be able to recognize all the elements. It's only through Sankhya Yoga, through the knowledge of the elements. And this is more detailed in Sankhya Darshan. So Prakriti, Sattva, Raja, Tama. That is going to influence our personality, influence the way we act. The more we are sattvic, the more we'll be going towards selfless action. Nishkam karma will be karma yogi. Karma yogi is not somebody who is only doing actions. Karma yogi is somebody doing actions with full knowledge of what he is doing and without being attached to the outcome. So it says the prakriti, the nature, that is also going to play upon us. They say, if I live in a troublesome environment, really, if I'm a fine yogi, I can stay away from that. Otherwise, I'll be affected from that. And if I live in a very well balanced environment, say घर का वातावरण या समाज के जो वातावरण है, if I take these examples of the environment around me, if that is peaceful, I tend to be more peaceful. But if that is hostile, I'll also tend to increase the level of hostility in my reactions. It needs really to be an accomplished yogi to stay away from these. Then buddhi samadho. And I've seen real yogis. We know the rush of the railway stations in India. उसका ध्यान का समय आ गया तो अहमदाबाद के जो रेलवे स्टेशन है ना, उसके जो बेंच है, उस पर बैठ करके वो अपना ध्यान कर रहा है, unaffected by that. फिर उसके बाद प्रश्न पूछा गया, कहा देखो बुद्धि समाधो योगश्चित्त वृत्ति निरोध, this is what I'm doing. So it shows to that it requires a very high level of attainment. Going forward, it again retakes that Indriyas yes indriya raga dvesho vyayas thito. Shlok 34. It says, be careful of what the Yog Darshan describes as parinam, sanskar, dukh. Whatever will engage, if we develop rag, attachment in that, the day that stops giving us the feeling, good feeling, or the good feel factor, the happiness, will start developing dvesh, hate to that same thing. And this is what happens in daily life when we see the battles between children and parents, between husband and wife, everything. इतने राग हो गए जिस दिन सुख देना बंद कर दिया तो उस दिन से द्वेष. And that affects our daily life. So if we want really to join the lesson of the Gita in life, acharan mein lana, bring that down to our daily style of living. And sanskar dukh, it says, the more we are used to that, the level of enjoyment, we see that with, especially on the negative side, people who are used to take alcohol or used to smoke or drink or addicted to drugs, what happens? They start with 1. Then after some time it becomes 2, then it becomes 3, it becomes 10, it goes like that. Is sanskar dukha. To get that same level of happiness, you have to indulge more and more. This is what the Shlok 34 is teaching. Go further down the line. Kama eva krodha esho rajo gunah samudhava mahashano mahapapma viddhayena miha vairinam. 37. रजोगुण से क्या उत्पन्न होता है? क्रोध. This is the first thing. And that is going to bring our downfall. So be careful. क्रोध मनुष्य का प्रेरक है पतन मार्ग पे. Remember the first day we had the question between why Sri Krishna was angry. That was Manu, that was not Krodh. Manu is totally detached way, and it's expressed towards the wrong action, not the wrongdoer. But Krodh in the general sense is expressed against someone in person, not the action. So what happens under that? It's the next shlok says, Dhumeni vriyate. So it's like the clouds or the smoke screen which we have and blinds our vision. If we have a fire which is burning with little smoke or practically no smoke, we can see the next side. But if the same small fire is producing lots of smoke, that's a total veil. We can't see the other side. So Krodh produces that effect. We lose our reason. Then the Shlok 40 says, Indriyani mano buddhirasya dhishtham uchyate. Indriya man or buddhi काम रूपी शत्रु का अधिष्ठान है. Why? When we go into indulging in the object of these senses. I eat not to keep my body healthy, but I eat for the good taste. I breathe in not for the sake of maintaining my life, but I want to breathe only the good perfume. I'm saying not to take cognizance of the occurrences around the world, but I'm saying just to enjoy some of the events which I like. But then I lose the opportunity to learn from wrong things which I've done wrong. So that's when the senses, man, the center of thinking, thoughts, and emotions, goes on the other side. But if in total control, if the soul maintains total control, then we become the Arjuna on the chariot, giving the proper direction, and led by Sri Krishna, the enlightened mind, enlightened intellect. Can we translate that into our day-to-day life? With the soul in charge, we become the Arjun and Sri Krishna of our life. If you want to realize the yoga of the Gita, this is where we should come to. That's the end of the chapter 3. I think I'll take the chapter 4, which is not too long, and it takes also a very strong concept which we need to clear. That's Jnana Karma Sannyas Yoga, the 4th chapter. I will override probably for 10, 15, 20 minutes. So I apologize first. Because the next 3 sessions I'll be able to complete the whole of it. So the first shlok of this 4th chapter. You remember I was telling the transmission of knowledge from Vivaswan to Manu and Ikshvaku. This is what it is telling. Imam vivasvate yogam pritivanaham avyayam vivasvanamave praha manurikshvakave bravita. So the transmission of knowledge was like that, and that was a proven way of transmitting knowledge, and not any knowledge, proven knowledge. Knowledge which has made its proof. And Sri Krishna is saying, whatever I'm telling you, Arjun, this is no new knowledge. The question comes now. Sri Krishna, you were not there at the time of Vivaswan, Manu, and Ikshvaku. So how can you affirm that this knowledge is true and flows from that line? Shri Krishna tells him, look, I'm a yogi. That's why I can go back down the line. This is not my first birth and this is not my last birth. And everybody is like that. It's only that we cannot link to the previous experiences, previous knowledge. And there comes the shlok. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirbhavati bharata abhyuddhatmanam dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma sansthapanayartha sambhavani yuge yuge. Krishna is the noble soul, saying that each and every time when there will be an upsurge of wrongdoings, noble souls will emerge, which unfortunately we've understood are the reincarnation of God. If we're really going into yoga, enjoying the moments of silence in yoga, chitta vritte nirodha buddhi samadho uchyate, we'll be able to sense the divine guidance within us, the Krishna alive within us, hinting us to be good in life, to the good things of life, giving us the true knowledge. So it's not a question that Sri Krishna lived only for that time. That divine guidance is within us, within every single person in this universe. It's just, जैसे कहते हैं ना, इसको हवा पानी और थोड़ा सा खा दिया देना है. Give the proper environment for that divinity to unfold. And especially in dire times, विपरीत प्रतिकूल स्थिति में ये ज्यादा उद्बुद्ध होता है. Because if we look into that, Krishna is only giving the knowledge. He's not doing any karma. And Arjun is doing the karma. So it's a complementary situation. Arjun also becomes one patra. Krishna is the patra giving the knowledge. Arjun is the second patra putting the knowledge into action. And to live yoga of the Bhagavad Gita, we have to listen to the inner voice and put that into action. This is the real practical application of these two shloka in our daily life. आज हम क्या करते हैं? चित्र की पूजा, चरित्र की पूजा कम या नहीं करते हैं? If we had paid more attention to the second part, charitra ki puja, we would have taken the place of that chitra. So are we prepared to do that? फिर इसके बाद it says, जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यमेव यो वेति तत्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नेति मामेति सो अर्जुन. Leading us to divyamevam, divya karma, divinity in whatever we do, nothing less. Otherwise, we'll continue the cycle, mrityu ke paas ke baad, mrityu ke paschat, punar janma. But for that person who goes on the path of nishkam, seva, selfless actions, and he becomes karma yogi. Karma yogi, that is, do his, I will repeat again, just as Krishna is repeating, with full knowledge and without letting time come with the outcome, with not being attached to the outcome. Then Krishna says, Brahmast ho jayega. That is, he will go into the bliss of God, mukti. So that's one of the key teachings of the 4th chapter. And the 4th chapter leads us to say that we can also be the Krishna of our life, and we can become the Arjun of our life. Then there's one point which people still dispute in the Shlok 13. Chaturvanyam maya yashtam guna karma vibhagasha. People say the caste system as we know it in India has its origin in the scriptures. No, it's clear here. Chaturvanyam, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. I would say in the modern concept, the educators, people responsible for law and orders, policemen, army people, then businessmen, agriculture people who are the Vaishyas, and the manual workers who are the Shudras. It's based on gun, karma, sabhav, the vibhag. It's not the wall of China, the Chinese wall as we say. It's only a social stratification or classification according to profession, to capabilities, to aptitude. And this comes in modern economics, the division of labor. So let's understand the wrong concepts that have been drilled into our mind. I was talking to Anjum Ji Shayad on Monday about the youth having no sense of direction. It's because they've been taught secularism, everything which pertains to the scriptures is to be avoided because this is blind faith. And people grow in the secular mind. The truly secular mind is someone who lives according to the values of human life. It's not devoid of values. And where do you learn the values from? There's only one source, the scriptures. And it becomes so easy the way that Sri Krishna unfolds this knowledge. Shlok 16 says, Kin karma kim karmeti kavayo pyatra mohita tate karma pravakshaya yajyatva mokshase shubhat. Kya karma hai? Now the fine dividing line comes. What is a karma and what is akarma? And this is a real trouble even for wise people. बड़े बड़े विद्वान भी जस में पड़ जाते. So what is the karma siddhant tells us? For somebody who is doing his duties and responsibilities, this is karma. Somebody doing his duties and responsibilities in full knowledge, 100% dedicated to that, but with no attachment to the outcome, that is akarma. In the spiritual sense. And for somebody who is doing otherwise, that is anyatha karma or vikarma. Is doing something else or the opposite. Doing something else is anyatha karma. So it's kartum, akartum, anyatha kartum. And vikartum. Kartum for somebody who is doing that, but he knows he's expecting something out of it. Akartum, somebody who is doing his duties but not attached to the outcome. Anyatha kartum, somebody who is doing not his duties and responsibility, doing something else. And vikartum is something who is doing exactly the opposite. So if we understand that fine dividing line, so we know where we stand in each and every action. And remember, action starts from thoughts, flows into words and physical actions. And after that, it goes on describing yogi. Yogi in Shlok 23 and 24. Sang asakti se rahit. So when he's talking asakti se rahit, is not only attached to karma. It's also attached in terms of human relationships, the bondage, sibling attachment, attachment to father, mother, and everything. So it says there's one common saying when we apply it in daily life, the difference between mamatva and moh. Mamatva is the motherly love. And we see that in the cow, गाय. बछड़ा जब जन्म लेता है तो जीभ लेकर के चाट करके उसको साफ करती है, क्लीनिंग ऑफ द calf. फिर दूध पिलाती है, सब कुछ, care for that. This is mamatva and this is what mothers do. And when the child has grown up, he or she wants to be flying on his or her own wings. Say आगे चलो, बस आशीर्वाद दे देते हैं. Not clinging to my son or my daughter should be with me. They are with me, that's fine. Otherwise, they are making their life for good wherever they stay in this world. They be noble in thoughts, words, and deeds, and they be happy. This is mamato, but more is clinging. I don't want the child to move away from me. I want he or she to be in front of me. Then you become a hurdle in the life of that child. But if you give a proper guidance, wherever they be in this world, you'll be happy to see them in whatever they do, because they'll always be good persons. So when we're talking about asakti, let's understand the point of view is that it extends beyond society. Then if we go into Shlok 29, it's talking about pranayam and the benefit of pranayam. Anjumji rightly pointed, I also pointed that when we do pranayam, we increase the level of oxygen in our blood, we increase the level of oxygen in our brain, and the brain feeds mostly on oxygen. And this is where we unfold our potential to move from samanya buddhi to medha buddhi, the discriminating faculty of the intellect. And from there on, we can move to ritambara prajya, where we can get one flow of a single subject for a longer period of time. And this is where we start flowing into yogaschitta vritti nirodha. And we'll be moving on to samadhi, the final step of yoga. And Shlok 30 and 31, where it describes our status. Yajya shishta mrita bhujo yanti brahma sanatanam nayam lokostaya yajyasya kutovanya kuru sattama. So it's giving the example कि हम पाप कर्मों को करने से रुक जाएंगे. We can stop there, put full stop. But whatever we did is never deleted. There's no press delete button. We are bound to read them, to read the outcome. But what happens is that when we grow in positivity that much, उस पाप कर्मों के जो संस्कार हैं उसको दगबीज कर देते हैं. And this is the word that is being used in Yog Darshan, Vyas Bhashya, dag the beej, पुराने संस्कारों को दगबीज कर दो. It's like I have a handful of chana, gram. Some of it, I put it in a place with sufficient humidity, aeration, sunlight, it will germinate. But if I take the other part, I put it in vacuum. There's no effect which will go on those seeds, and it will never sprout. तो ये दगबीज हो गया. Another way, if इसको भून लिया जाए, roast it, it will never germinate. So this is what happens when the yogi grows and goes into the path of mukti moksha. उस पाप के संस्कारों को हमने दगबीज कर दिए. We never let them manifest. इसको अच्छे कर्मों से इतना दबा दिया. We've suppressed that with the amount of positivity, the amount of good things that we do. These will never impact our life. So if we understand that concept, we'll also put an end to that concept of कहीं पे दान दे दिया, कहीं पे मैंने तीर्थ कर दिया तो मेरे पाप धुल गए. I know I have to continue to do good, otherwise I leave room for the other one to sprout. So I shouldn't leave room for the other side to sprout. So that comes with the concept of yajya karma. And here it gives the attitude of the seeker in Shlok 34. Tad siddhi panipanena parishprashnena sevaya. So the attitude of the seeker, pranam, namrata, श्रद्धा के द्वारा, प्रश्नों के द्वारा और सेवा के द्वारा ज्ञान को जान लें. And this has been the tradition across the millennia. So that is describing the status of Arjun as the real seeker. This is why Krishna gives him the knowledge. Akkar ke pusta to kuch nahi milta. Then this, coming to the end of that, the Shlok 39 says, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam tatpara sanyatendriya jnanam labdha param shanti bache chirenadhigacchati. So those who have passion, dedication, with total self-control, with full knowledge of what we are doing, the level of knowledge goes on increasing and increasing and increasing. And at the end, we'll reach the state of inner peace growing and growing and growing and growing. And this is the ultimate goal of life. दुखों से छूटना और सुख की प्राप्ति. This is what yoga leads us to. The last shlok of this chapter says, Tasmadadhyat sambritam hastam jnanasinatmanah Chityainam shanshayam yoga matishthotishthata bharata. So Bharat is one way of addressing Arjun. But Bharat in itself, we know Bharat referring to India, but we tend to associate it with Bharat, one of the former rulers. But Bharat here in the real sense means knowledgeable. Remember when we used to address Bharat, Vishwa Guru. It was the most knowledgeable part of society in this world. That's why the name of Bharata. So it says, अज्ञान से उत्पन्न हुआ संशय जब हृदय में बैठ जाता है, ज्ञान रूपी तलवार लेकर के उसको काट देना. And this is what Arjun, you've got knowledge, you were in doubt, you've got the knowledge, ज्ञान रूपी तलवार लेकर के आगे बढ़ो. That's the end of the 4th chapter. Tomorrow we'll start with the 5th, Karma Sannyas Yoga. And the next chapters, I think, will be quite fast. So I have the target to complete that on Saturday. Just I have one announcement. I have a contingency for Saturday morning. I've been called by Council of Religions to intervene on one national forum. So instead of doing the morning session, we'll be doing it as an afternoon session, 5 to 7 p.m. So just bear in mind the Saturday session won't be from 10 to 12. That would be from 5 to 7 p.m. And that would be the final session in this series. Thank you for today. I'll leave it to you. for the Q&A sessions, and we'll try to wrap up.